Marc Rubio, who was supported by 46 Democrats to become the Secretary of State, says El Salvador will house deportees from the United States, including Americans. Now, why is that problematic? Now, I have a background in international law, so I know that as soon as you leave the United States territory, you don't carry your constitutional rights, which means that you are vulnerable to cruel and unusual punishment. You are vulnerable to things outside of the realm of what we would consider to be illegal. But in El Salvador, it doesn't count because that's not our constitution, that's not our territory. It's exactly why in Guantanamo Bay, we don't actually hold the abusers of prisoners accountable. Why? Because technically, it's illegal under international law, but if American law is above international law, then American law counts. But since they're not in the United States, they don't have constitutional protection. So what's going to happen if you get sent to El Salvador? Now, you're going to say, well, they'll probably send the criminals of the criminals, right? But that's arbitrary, isn't? Why wouldn't they send just any criminals that they deem as unfit to be here in the United States? Why wouldn't they send any criminals that they just arbitrarily say are very bad, are very dangerous to society, like transgender Americans? Why? Because the reality that they're removing our documents, that they're seizing our documents upon trying to get a passport or renew a passport, even though you have a legal name change and gender change, including giving you a travel ban for your identity not matching what you were assigned to at birth. Why wouldn't being in this gray zone of them not being able to prove your identity make you into a criminal? And in that reality, why wouldn't it make you into a dangerous criminal? Because you're not conforming to society. In that reality, why wouldn't they send you to El Salvador so that your rights no longer count, so that you no longer are protected by the United States Constitution? Now, I know it's null, right? However, it's much more dangerous when you're outside of the United States because you don't take over your constitutional protections, all right? You are bounded by the rules and regulations of that territory, and if there's no rules and regulations there, then the United States gets to dictate that outside of the Constitution, like in Guantanamo Bay. In this reality, I want to give a shout out to the 46 Democrats who confirmed Marc Rubio as a Secretary of State. And there's a lot of names here that you'll be surprised and that you'll be really embarrassed and shocked to hear. So let's start. Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. Arizona Senator Ruben Gallego. Both of California Senators Adam Schiff and Alejandro Padilla. Both of Colorado Senators John Hickenlooper and Michael Bennet. Both of Connecticut Senators Christopher Murphy and Richard Blumenthal. Both of Delaware Senators Christopher Coons and Lisa Blunt Rochester. Both of Georgia Senators John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. Hawaii Senator Maxie Hirono. Both of Illinois Senators Richard Durbin and Tammy Duckworth. Maine Senator Angus King. Both of Maryland Senators Angela Alsobrooks and Chris Von Hollen. Massachusetts both Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren. Both of Michigan Senators Elisa Sloskin and Gary Peters. Both of Minnesota's Senators Amy Klobuchar, I said it wrong, I'm sure, I'm sorry, and Tina Smith. Both of Nevada's Senators Catherine Cortez Masto and Jackie Rolson. Both of New Hampshire's Senators Jean Shaheen and Margaret Hassan. Both of New Jersey Senators Andy Kim, Cory Booker. Both of New Mexico's Senators Ben Ray Lujan and Martin Hinrich. So many people failed us. Both of New York's Senators Chuck Schumer, which we're not surprised, and Kirsten Gillibrand. Both of Oregon Senators Jeff Markley and Ron Wyden. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, no surprise. Both of Rhode Island Senators Jack Reed and Sheldon Whitehouse. Both of Washington Senators Maria Cantwell and Patty Murray. Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin. Both of Vermont Senators Bernie Sanders, and Peter Welch. Both of Virginia Senators Mark Warner and Timothy Kaine. If you want to contact them and message them, the link is in my bio for my Substack that lists these Trojan horses. Note that the asterisk just means that they've betrayed us many times. I don't know what to say about this. I don't know what I'm capable of saying about this, I think really I just feel betrayed because I know as a student of conflict that I know that this isn't just going to be criminals. It's going to be an arbitrary selection of Americans that they deem as dangerous in the country, and they want them away. Ta-da! Thank you to the 46 Democrat senators. And I mean, you can say they were going to be passed anyways, right? But it's the whole reality that so many Democratic senators supported this. It's an authorization of this. And I don't know how people want me to trust the party when they're very easy to just create my community as collateral damage. They're just like Jigsaw from F and Saw. They're looking at us suffering. They have the key, but they're just watching and watching. And no matter what this higher purpose is, the longer it goes on, it's sadistic. And it's putting a lot of us in harm. And if even worse, if they don't know how to solve this because they're just pretending like it's business as usual. And I know now there's more coming out as a constitutional crisis, but they're not actually doing anything, are they? They're just saying all the words, but they're not actually doing actions. They're like midterms. They're all of these things that aren't going to work. Aren't going to work. And it's funny because I'm sure when we're in camps in El Salvador, they're still going to try to say that midterms will solve it. I don't even know what to think about this anymore. I'm just so done. The longer there is inaction, the more the Chicago boys, aka the Doji boys, have to breathe. The Chicago boys were the single factor that led to the instability and popularity of Pinochet that allowed for the dictatorship to happen between 1973 and 1990. That's how long it took. And you think it's going to be 4 years. What a joke. But hey, first they came for us, right? And I mean, eventually they're going to come for you. But doesn't matter. You know, maybe it'll be 4 years after that it'll be solved. And sure, a U.S. official has said that they have no intentions of deporting Americans, that they have no intentions of sending Americans to El Salvador, mostly because there's legal challenges. But you know what? There's legal challenges to a lot of the things that Donald Trump is doing. So the fact that there's no guardrails means that there's nothing to challenge yet. Why? Because it takes a long time to do litigation. It takes a long time, and then meanwhile, we'll be in camps. What are the Democrats gonna do? Go to El Salvador and get us back? Obviously, Marc Rubio is really intending of doing such a thing in the future, even though there's no actual plans right now to do this. It's haunting of it. It's haunting that 46 Democrats voted for this, that 46 Democrats authorized it. It's haunting that this is the type of man they wanted in charge of the Department of State. It's haunting, for sure. The fact that there's plans to send Americans over, even though technically you cannot legally do that. But since we're in a tyranny, I guess you can.